Okay, so as promised, I am whipping off a little video here, some Photoshop tips that will help you. Um, I'm going to bounce around a little bit, so hopefully you can review this at your leisure and we can go from there. So let's start by opening up a new document. It's important to know resolution. Resolution is important because if you're ever going to print the item, it needs to be at a 300 minimum to get a good solid quality print out of your camera. When you bring an image in to Photoshop off of your camera, it will be set at 72. You will have to change it to 300. Um, if you're just going to use it on the web, probably 150 is adequate. So these are just things that you can change uh, later on as you go. And so this image that I have open, you can go up to image, image size, and it will tell me that the resolution is 72. It tells me the dimensions of it. And if I were, this is not a good idea because this came off Facebook, so the resolution is going to be um, kind of low. But if I jump this to 300, it's going to make my image huge and pixelated, which we definitely don't want to do. So we can Control Z or Apple Z that to bring it back to normal. So just something to keep in mind when dealing with that. Okay, so this image, I'm not sure if it has a filter on it or not. It doesn't really matter. The first thing I would do is I would go to the Image tab, Adjustments, and Curves. And so you have three droppers here, black, gray, and white. And each of these are meant to sample those specific colors. I don't usually mess around with the gray and the white very much. I usually go right for the black, which seems to correct the image accordingly. So what I'm going to do here is click on the black eyedropper. I'm going to find the blackest part of the image, click on that, and then you can also grab this bar here if you're not happy with it, and you can just drop it down just a little bit, and as you can see, it gives it a really makes the colors pop quite a bit. So if you like it, you hit OK. If you don't, you hit cancel. If you hit cancel, it goes back to the way it was. I'm a fan of the picture in general, but you could make the colors, like I said, stand out. If you want the shortcut for curves, it would be Apple M if you're on a Mac, Control M if you're on a PC. Um, I'm a shortcut guy. I like to do shortcuts. So again, that's eyedropper, and then you can pick your variation of black, and then just tweak it down accordingly. So that is curves. If we flip to a different image, um, this tool is called Shadow and Highlights, or Highlights and Shadows. Also located in Image, Adjustments, and then down to Shadow and Highlights. Now you may open this up and it may be like this. If it is, you just hit this button here to say Show More Options. And so if you start to drag this slider here back and forth, you're going to see the changes of the amount of shadows and highlights that you can tweak within the image. So you can really start to emphasize certain aspects of your image and what you want to highlight and what you don't. As you can see, I'm really tweaking it here. Alright. And once you get it to where you want it, you can also give it a little color correction and hit OK. And now you're good. One thing that I don't know how people live without is zooming in with scroll wheel. And so you'll constantly see me zooming in, zooming out. And I do that with the scroll wheel. To enable that, as a tangent here, just go to Edit, Preferences, General, and go down to, where is it? Somewhere. Oh, it's in General. Zoom with scroll wheel, and just check that box if you have an external mouse with a scroll. That will let you dive into the image and take a look at things a little clearer. Once you're in the image, so let's say I'm really far in here, if I want to move left or right, a lot of people would say, oh, you got to go down and use the scroll bar. If you just hold spacebar it turns your cursor into a hand, and now I can click and drag through the image, which does make editing much faster and much nicer. Again, I live and die by shortcuts, so I apologize in advance for that. So that's shadow and highlights. And you've probably seen it 1,000 times where people will have part of an image black and white and the rest of it color. It's kind of cliche, but some people want it. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quick. It's not hard by any means. So over on your right hand side you have your original layer. You can double click it to unlock it, and then you can click the new icon down here on the right. Actually, sorry about that, delete that. Right click on the image and duplicate layer, and you can call it whatever you want. Okay. Once you have that layer, the next step would be to turn the top. The way Photoshop works is whatever layer is on top is kind of what is seen the most, or up front. So if we go ahead and turn this the top layer black and white, and there's 1,000 different ways to do that, but I'll show you just the menu way to keep it easier for you. You can go to Image, Adjustment, Black and White, and again you have a ton of control in here. You can change the reds to, do whatever you want it to do. As you saw, the balloons change. You can do whatever you want to do. Just a quick tip: if you want to do sepia tone, just hit this tint button, and by default, boom, you're right there. That's just a quick sepia fix. So once we have a black and white layer and we have it the way we want it to be, there is an auto button here that will do it for us, just like that. Hit OK. And the great part about this is now we just come over to the left, grab our eraser, and let's say we wanted just the balloons to be in color. We can just start erasing the black and white off the top layer. We're not actually affecting the bottom layer whatsoever. And so now we can just start adding color back into our image however we see fit. I can go back in here and make his little stripe here red. However, like I said, whatever detail you want to emphasize with color, that's an option for you. It's pretty simple. People do it all the time. Sometimes they do it too much. So that's how you do that. And again, if you don't like it, you can simply click the eyeball here and it turns the layer on and off, and you can get rid of it as you see fit. Alright, let's go back to this image here. So the next tool I'm going to show you is the pen tool, and I think the pen tool is probably one of the most handy selection tools in Photoshop. It's what I use all the time for all my selections. Selection, basically something in an image that you want to take out of the image or move around or do whatever. So if I want to take London out of this picture, I will go over here and grab this pen tool, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to start clicking, left clicking around, right around her. And so here we go. I'll do this kind of quickly so that it won't be as precise as it normally would be, but I'll do it just to give you the idea. Go right around what you want. And if you make a mistake, you can just Control Z, undo, whatever command works for you. And just fly around here. Again, you can be as precise or as candid as you want to be with this. If I was doing it for real, I'd be in about this far, making sure that everything was set the way it needed to be, but since we're just doing this for a demonstration, we'll Just kind of eyeball it here, and it'll give us the idea. Bring it down in here. And it seems like a lot of clicking, but once you get used to it, it's pretty quick. So you come all the way back to the end. Now she's got this nice little line drawn around her. So you would right click on her and you would say make selection. And the feather radius is how much do you want your circle to be a nice round circle, or do you want it to be exactly the way you drew it? So if you want it to be exactly the lines that you just drew, you leave it at 0. But if you want it to be, you know, give it a little bit of a rounded edge, you would give it like a three feather. And now I have this nice, what they call marching ants in the industry, around her. And you'll notice that she's the only thing selected. So from here I would use the command Apple J or Control J, and if you saw what that did over here, it put her on her own layer. So there she is. She's all by herself. So what does that mean? That means that we can now grab her. She's her own separate entity. So she can be moved around, she can be placed, she can be resized. Resizing, you can do that a whole bunch of different ways. I use the shortcut Control T or Apple T, which brings up your transforming box. And anytime you're making anything bigger or smaller, you want to make sure that when you grab the corners, you hold Shift and you bring it down. The reason for that is to keep the proportions. Alright, so she's not being stretched or anything like that. And then you can just kind of turn her however you want her to be. Kind of just like that. And then you can move her. See how she's on the top because she is the top layer. If we move her to the bottom, maybe. Oh, this layer's locked. If we move her to the bottom, she's now gone. She's hidden behind it. To make her come back, we'd have to bring her up there. So she can be there. And the beautiful part about this is once something's on its own layer, you can totally affect it however you see fit without affecting the rest of the image. So over here you have all these different adjustment layers that you can do. Let's do it doesn't really matter for this, I guess. Just change the adjustment of this. You can change it however you see fit. And then you can hide that layer. Doesn't matter. The other cool thing is you can now take this selection that you have here and you can drag it into another image just by holding it over top, and now she's into this image. So now you can start to see where, you know, the possibilities are endless really of what you can do. Let's see if we brought in it doesn't really matter if we go back to this one and grab, I don't know, part of this Ferris wheel, let's say, and we want to Control J it to make it its own layer. Oop. Make sure you're on the background layer. Hit Control J. Now that's on its own layer, so we can do the same thing with that. And we could do this. We could make this the whole background, like so. And because that's on the top, that's what you see. Which brings us into the next thing that I was going to teach you, which is layer masks. Layer masks are heavily used, maybe not so much by baby photographers, but they're a good skill to know, and it's very simple. So you have your layer, and you have layers beneath it that you want shown. So all you'll do is go down here to this button that says Add Layer Mask, and you see this white box that appears next to this layer. The concept is very, very simple. You have two colors, white and black, over here on the left. You're going to go up to your paintbrush, and you're going to click to black. Now, when you start let me change my brush back to a normal brush for you. There we go. When you start to brush with the black, you start to reveal um, the image behind. If you make a mistake, you simply go back to white and you can repaint back to where it was. You're not actually affecting the image in any way, shape, or form. So, again, black to reveal, and here's the neat part is you can, the opacity level of this layer you can now drop by sliding this slider down this way. So now you can start to see the other image. So if you want just the baby to be coming through the Ferris wheel, now you know right where the baby is, and you can just erase where he is like this, so you have a great guideline here. Bring that in there like so, like that. Maybe I want these balloons too, because they go with the carnival theme. Maybe this one down here. And then I will bring this opacity back up. And as you can see, there's the baby floating in midair. And voila. So, that's layer masks. And again, if you wanted the baby to go away, it's as simple as changing it to white and just going back over top of it. And now you're back to square one. Let's get rid of all these layers so we're back to the original. A neat little trick that might help you out if you ever want to add just a real simple border around a photo. You can use your cropping tool over on the left, draw a box around it, and all you're going to do is make the border like so. This is called reverse cropping, and you just draw however much you want and hit enter. And so now you have this nice little border around it. And actually we did that on the wrong layer, so let's go back. See how we did that on the top layer. We want to click on the bottom, the only visible layer, and we'll do the same thing, and we should get different results. And then you can fill that color with the selection magic wand tool. Just click in that area and go to edit, fill, and you can add whatever color you'd like. I'm going to choose red, hit OK, and boom, you're done. Now you have a nice little red frame around it. You can make that frame however big you want. Another couple of neat things, I won't keep you too much longer because it's almost 20 minutes long and you're probably getting bored. If you go back to that selection, and right now the selection that we have is the red box. If you go to select and then go to inverse, you'll notice that now only the inside picture is selected. And so this is helpful because you can add a lot of different things to this. Now you could add a stroke to it. And so what does that do? You can change, this is the width, how big the line you want it to be. So let's give that a 3, and you can change the color to whatever you want. Let's leave it black for now, and we want it on the outside, and we're going to hit OK. And so now you see this beautiful, nice little black line that's kind of matted in there. Almost gives it the matte effect. And if we go back to that, if you double click on this blue space over here, you're going to get layer styles. And layer styles are a lot of fun. You can do a lot of different things with layer styles. One of the coolest things is bevel and emboss. And you can really start to tweak your image with bevel and emboss. As you can see here, you can really give your frame a 3D look. Add a little drop shadow to it even if you wanted to. Really, the possibilities are endless with Photoshop. So there you go, you got a nice little 3D frame. What else did I have on my list that I could show you quickly? Let's see if I can find a person with yellow teeth. I'll show you how to whiten someone's teeth or someone's eye, somebody's eyes. Person with yellow teeth. Yeah, there we go. This will do. So let's just save this nice picture. You're going to run into this a lot. You'll have a lot of people that you'll shoot that are like, yeesh, brush your teeth or something. So let's just drag this bad boy in here. Okay. So, actually I'll show you two things with this particular tutorial. We're going to do a technique called masking. So over down here on the bottom left, underneath your color palette, it says Edit in Quick Mask Mode. So we're going to click that. We're going to go to the brush tool, just regular old brush, and we're going to change the size of that. And you can do that with the brackets on your keyboard, or you can just go up here and change it with the size slider. I use the brackets because, of course, it's a shortcut. Okay, so get the diameter that you want and start painting with your brush. And yes, it's going to be red when you're in quick mask mode, and I will show you why that is in just a moment. So we're going to quickly go through here like this. Get all this down in here. Being careful not to go on his lips too much, because it'll affect that in the long run. And once we get them all covered up, beautiful. Okay, so now that they're all red, we go back to this Edit in Quick Mask Mode button, and we click it. And so we got our marching ants back. But you'll notice that what's selected is actually outside of the mask, so we need to go to Select and Inverse so that we're affecting just the teeth. And so the predominant color in these yellow teeth is yellow, so what we're actually going to do is remove the yellow. So we're going to go to Image, Adjustment, Hue and Saturation, and this is where we get to pick our colors. So we're going to go down to yellow, and we're actually going to take the saturation slider and we're just going to go to the left. And as you can see, we've gotten rid of the yellow. Then we're going to go back to the master, go to the lightness slider, and just a smidgen. You don't want to go too much because it'll look almost fake at that point. And hit OK. Once you're happy with that, you can deselect by hitting Apple D or Control D, and there you go. Or you can go up here and select deselect, whichever works easier for you. I think that's all I'm going to show you for right now. Maybe I'll do another video if this helps, and hopefully it does help.